Miscellaneous documents are laid on the table. Miscellaneous fish remains fill the bucket. Miscellaneous school items lay in the box. Miscellaneous tools laid on the floor. Nothing looks useful to you right now. Mold has filled the book pages. You can't make any sense of it. Mold is growing on the painting, concealing the person on the portrait. Moldy boxes, moldy crates. Moonless is dead now. More time you spent at the temple. More pathetic, the priests of Amun started to look in your eyes. Religion in general started to look dubious too, after examining how the world functioned. Most low life, more time you spent at the temple. More pathetic, the priests of Amun started to look in your eyes. Religion in general started to look dubious too, after examining how the world functioned. Most low-life thugs on the streets knew that they'd have to answer to you if they tried anything dodgy. Most of the bodies had been decaying and decomposing for hundreds of years. Some bodies looked fresher than the others, while some were reduced to bare skeletons. Most of the books that were still left had been growing mold for hundreds of years, but there were a handful of manuscripts that appeared surprisingly new. Most of the temple was dilapidated by the time, but you could still spot some murals on the walls that depicted rituals and gods not known in this day and age. Most of the text in the book is illegible, but there is one passage that you can make sense of. Most of the them seem to require maintenance. One rifle seems to be in a pristine condition though. Most of the them seem to require maintenance. One Trekken seems to be in a pristine condition though. Most of the them seem to require maintenance. Most of the time these attacks are telegraphed somehow on the previous turn, and you can see them coming. You can either dodge devastating attacks by guarding, or you can risk it and face the coin of judgment. Most of the valuables had been looted long time ago already. Opening a drawer revealed only old and dusty letters of no importance. The bottom drawer, however, seems to be stuck. Most of the valuables had been looted long time ago already. Opening a drawer revealed only old and dusty letters of no importance. Except something fell from one of the envelopes. Most parts of the diary are completely illegible scribblings of a madman. But towards the end, the text becomes more lucid. Most religious doctrines were molded to accommodate the current rulers after all. In your eyes, religion was used as a tool to control masses more than anything else. Dedicating your life to such would equal dedicating your life to kings and queens of the time. Most religious doctrines were molded to accommodate the current ruling class. Religion was used as a mere tool to control masses more than anything else. Dedicating your life to worship would equal dedicating your life to kings and queens of the time. Moth's swarm is now available in the hexen. Mucus and slime drips from the trout of the creature as it creates a whistling sound. My dolls, mystic deities, unknown gods, unholy rituals, nuggets of information, were the answers buried somewhere amongst all this madness. Mythological figure known as Betel, the Enlightened One, the famed new god who formed the Moth's swarm, is now available in the hexen. Mucus and slime drips from the trout of the creature as it creates a whistling sound. My dolls, mystic deities, unknown gods, unholy rituals, nuggets of information, were the answers buried somewhere amongst all this madness. Mythological figure known as Betel, the Enlightened One, the famed new god who formed the grand libraries in the city of the gods, where every one of his successors would gather their knowledge and fill the library shelves with books from all forms of expertise. Nasra. Let's make a sacrifice for the fire god himself. Nasra. Make love. Nasra, sacrifice me. Sacrifice me. Nasra, the harbinger of the burning crusade. Nasra. Let's make a sacrifice for the fire god himself. Nasra. Nasra. Let's make a sacrifice for the fire god himself. Nasra. Make love. Nasra, sacrifice. Nasra. Make Nasra. Make love. Nasra, sacrifice me. Sacrifice me. Nasra, the harbinger of the burning crusade. Nasra, the bringer of torment. Nasra, the doom and terror of the modern man. The great wizard from the eastern sanctuaries went by many names. Nasra, too bad. Nothing gets me aroused quite as burnt meat. Nasra, too bad. Nothing gets me aroused quite as burnt meat. Nasra. Why, of course. Naturally, his facial features often depict him as a native to eastern sanctuaries too. Naturally, you were studying Nasra, too bad. Nothing gets me aroused quite as burnt meat. Nasra. Why, of course. Naturally, his facial features often depict him as a native to eastern sanctuaries too. Naturally, you were studying botanism and natural sciences, and your sister studied new computer sciences and engineering. Naturally, his facial features often depict him as a native to eastern sanctuaries too. Naturally, you were studying botanism and natural sciences, and your sister studied new computer sciences and engineering. Near the main entrance arch, there was a makeshift archaeological site with tents and digging equipment. The site looked abandoned. On the other side, there was a side entrance to the dungeons, with stairs leading down to the darkness below. Why did you need knowledge and power again? As time went on, this question started bothering you more frequently. You realized you were without a purpose, without an ideology to fight for. Needles is in a top human form, clearly. Under his garbs is a muscular body full of scars. Some of the scars look like old burns, and some look like old rash of some kind. Needles is in top human form, clearly. Under his garbs is a muscular body full of scars. Some of the scars look like old burns, and some look like old rash of some kind. Needles is just grinning at you with its sadistic smile. Needles is just laughing at you with exaggerated gestures. Needles is waving its finger around its ear in a mocking manner. Needles looks you straight in the eyes. As his expression becomes more serious, Needles shrugs with its arms stretched wide. Nevertheless, the Baron was fascinated by your otherworldly means of healing and was impressed by the results. Nevertheless, the two of you continued, if not on the same path, then on the same lane at the very least, as you both entered the same university in Bremen. New God's a hot spot for all trading, be it from the east or west. New God's a lone cave wolf who was once driven away from her pack because of her superior strength. New God's a manifestation of your grudge during your stay in the dungeons. New God's a pure being, in which both strength of the new gods and a seed of the man from the prophecies come together. New God's a servant of the trickster god, the moon. His motivations lie in the path laid out by the older god. New God's a pure being, in which both strength of the new gods and a seed of the man from the prophecies come together. New God's a servant of the trickster god, the moon. His motivations lie in the path laid out by the older god. New God's a simple reanimated skeleton. The necromancy needs to be stronger in them to animate mere dust and bones. Thus, their strength is also greater than ghouls. New God's a soul that radiates the light of an older god. The soul has formed itself inside the body of a little girl. New God's a virtuous knight who was on a path to the black of the dungeons. New God's Abyssonia, which is the origin of the Western civilization. Many of us come from the land in which olive trees bloom and people bathe in sun. New God's also knows as Ronshambara when he still walked among men as a mere mortal. New God's an act of love between a cave wolf and a god. New God's an ancient being that swims in the underground waterways. There are many human legends which mention this beast as well. New God's an intimidating figure for sure. Seems like even a northern brute like him can appreciate finesse and knowledge. New God's as things started to succumb to chaos in the dungeons of fear and hunger. He was sent from the kingdom of Rondon for aid. New God's. Ask anything you want to. New God's before men. The lizardman roamed as the dominating life form. New God's, but it might be wrong to misjudge her potential. New God's, but little did they know that such darkness could not be contained. New God's, but the man himself. is a curious kind. New God's Kahara of the South. He originates from the eastern sanctuaries. A bastard child left on his own at a very young age. New God's Cave Mother. A being who has stayed in the darkness for too long. It longs for humankind to pregnant her. New God's Creations of the Black. The darkness has had its way with countless of victims. New gods, did you forget already? New gods, even us. The new gods know little of the continent. New gods, even us. The new gods know little of this part of the world. The continent is tightly connected to the older gods. New gods, every new god of the Enlightenment would from then on dedicate their cycle at the libraries. To a certain subject they would decide themselves. New gods Francois, the dominating one, has trained the hunting hounds to harass all those who trespass his domain. New gods Francois, the dominating one, the new god of the current era. He rose to power in pursuits for more strength to unify the warring lands. New gods' greater blight is something that rivals the powers of the new gods even in this day and age. New gods Ha as haven, Ve to verify, Rai to rise. New gods. Next to the man-made platforms, in the darkness there were huge statues carved on the cavern walls where the brick walls of the prison area ended. Next to this ancient presence, you're nothing but a feeble ant. And now, you had spies everywhere in Europa and beyond. Combining various information snippets gathered from across the continent, you were able to and now, you had new reconnaissance report number 2, quick bullet points on the Bohemian sect member Hasrila Audrey, born the 1st of January. And now, you had spies everywhere in Europa and beyond. Combining various information snippets gathered from across the continent, you were able to unravel parts of a larger scheme. New reconnaissance report number 1, quick bullet points of the reconnaissance. Nameless Liberty Underground. The organization's roots date back to the First Great War. New reconnaissance report number 2, quick bullet points on the Bohemian sect member Hasrila Audrey, born the 1st of January 1922. Current age 20. Hair medium height, dark brown. No answer. The vermin is long gone. No answer. No answer. No effect. Your pleads are useless here. No matter how disfigured her face would be, you would always recognize your wife Elise. This woman has her appearance. You are 100% certain of this now. No matter how much you punish the bony body of the rifleman, he gives no reaction. He must be dead. No need to play it anymore. No reaction from the beast. Your kicks probably wouldn't have much effect even if the thing was still alive. No reaction from the bony body of the moon-scorched. The skin has got a crisp, almost exoskeleton-esque feel to it though. It does not feel like human skin, that is for sure. No reaction from the bony body of the moon-scorched. No reaction from the creature. Each kick sinks deep as the living flesh is just a sack of fat and muscles. No reaction from the creature. The scope's surface is hard. Your kicks end up hurting you more than it would hurt the thing. No reaction from the foul man. Lifeless eyes beneath the mask remain cloudy. No reaction from the frail body of the ratkin. No reaction from the muscular body of the moon-scorched. No reaction. But each kick gives you satisfaction. No reaction. But it feels good to kick the bony body of the rifleman. No reaction. But the torso of the rat hag sinks deeper to the rags with each kick. No reaction. But you feel satisfaction with each kick. No reaction. The body in the cocoon feels surprisingly sturdy. No reaction. The body feels surprisingly heavy. No reaction. The body feels surprisingly sturdy. No reaction. But it is satisfying. No reaction. Each kick sinks deeper to the husk, as if the creature was hollow to begin with. No reaction. He is dead. No reaction. He must be dead. But for how long? No reaction. He must be dead. No reaction. He seems to be dead. No reaction. She is dead. No reaction. She just keeps on singing. No reaction. Still deep in a sleep. No reaction. She just keeps on singing. No reaction. Still deep in a sleep. No reaction. The beast is lifeless. Only saliva is slowly dripping from the gaping mouth. No reaction. The beast is lifeless. No reaction. The janitor seems dead by all measures. No reaction. The kicks seem to sink deep. The husk of the creature has become soft and floppy. No reaction. The priest retains his mocking grin even after his passing. No reaction. You cannot hear anything from inside. No reaction. No sounds coming from down there. No, wait. There are shapes forming in the chaos. No, it is still not the same. Something wrong with the carvings. I need to get all the details. None of it seems useful in your situation. Nossophobia. Fear of disease and contamination, phasmophobia. Fear of ghosts and ghastly figures, rhabdophobia. Fear of magic and otherworldly powers, nostalgia. Not a single soul returned from this trip, not giving the two a chance to meet up. You insisted that the professor would come for a dinner with you. You had some important things to discuss. Not many survived the ambush, but that just meant that the mission rewards got less takers. You were one of the lucky ones. Not that it is a complaint. The drink really is quite remarkable. Wet or dry. Not that you missed anything important. The torchlight revealed just regular prison utilities like piss buckets, chains, and a couple of skulls belonging to previous residents. Nothing bothered her more than the idea that her designs were anything but perfect. Nothing happened. Nothing interesting here. Nothing interesting here. Nothing interesting in the bucket. Nothing interesting in the cupboards. Nothing interesting in the newspaper. Nothing left here. Nothing left in the ammo case. Nothing on the shelf catches your interest. Nothing seemed to make sense. Nothing left in the ammo case. Nothing on the shelf catches your interest. Nothing seemed to make sense, though. There were connections between Kaiser and a so-called secret society called the New Gods. But that started to sound like a petty conspiracy theory the more you read into it. Nothing will be the same after the awakening. That is what the poster promises, at least. Nothing. That is right. Nothing. No one hears you scream. Nothing. Noticing the stark difference between the two of you, you decided to give up on the subject and got back to studying botanism. Now his words encouraged Willem to join the coming adventure that was heading his way. Heading fast. In fact, the adventure already squeezed itself through a small keyhole on the window frame. Now that you look at it, the book seems to be more about royal gossip than food recipes. None died because of her infected wound. A cult had completely swallowed the Baron. None died because of her infected wound. A cult. Now that you look at it, the book seems to be more about royal gossip than food recipes. None died because of her infected wound. A cult had completely swallowed the Baron while you were away, and you could only guess what he had tried to accomplish with this unholy ritual. Occult skills helped you make friends easily. And there were many ways you could make a living there with help of little magic. Offer the Abella's head, offer the August's head, offer the Belland head. Offer the August's head, offer the Belland head. Offer the Bobby's head, offer the Caligula's head, offer the Centaur head, offer the Dine's head, offer the Dead Crow, offer the Dine's head, offer the Dead Crow, offer the Death Mask head, offer the Dysmorphia's head, offer the Elite Trooper head, offer the Fallen Cherub head, offer the Fecal Hound head, offer the Flame Trooper head, offer the Gull Brother head, offer the Half-Cooned head, offer the head of Needles, offer the head of the Heartless One, offer the head of the Mechanical Dance, offer the head of the Pocket Cat, offer the head of the Stitches, offer the head of the Tormented One, offer the Heart-Shaped Lock, offer the Henrik's head, offer the Inquisitor head, offer the Janitor head, offer the Judgment's head, offer the Kaiser's head, offer the Karen's head, offer the Levi's head, offer the Marcos head, offer the Marina's head, offer the Mastermind's head, offer the Meat Grinder head, offer the Moon-Scorched head, offer the Neighbor head, offer the Olivia's head, offer the Neighbor head, offer the Olivia's head, offer the Osar's head, offer the Owl, offer the Osar's head, offer the Owl Cultist head, offer the Pav's head, offer the Perkili's head, offer the Pillaman's head, offer the Portrait of a Young Man, offer the Priest head, offer the Rancid head, offer the Rat Hag head, offer the Ratkin head, offer the Rifleman head, offer the Rontiel head, offer the Samaris head, offer the Soldier head, offer the Sylvian Trooper head, offer the Tanaka's head, offer the Valkyrie's head, offer the Vile head, offer the Villager head, offer the Woodsman head. Oh yes, I can read blood. I was born from it. Old clothes left here to dry. They are still wet. Old coffee stains fill the cup. Old newspaper articles. Old coffee stains fill the cup. Old newspaper articles about war are left here. Old newspapers are scattered all over the place. Old suitcases and houseware. Everything seems more or less worthless here. Olivia assists in this task. Olivia cannot hold Reaper's rake with just one arm. Olivia cannot hold rifle with just one arm. Olivia cannot hold trench gun with just one arm. Olivia cannot hold weapons without arms. Olivia closes her eyes, and you can see teardrops forming on her cheeks. Olivia disappeared somewhere while you were sleeping. Olivia has lost both legs and arms, and is useless now. Olivia has no arms to use the syringe. Olivia has too many limbs cut. She is in a state of shock. Olivia is down. Olivia is grabbed by the bony grasp of the appendage. Olivia is hesitating. Olivia is in complete shock. She doesn't seem to react to your words in any way. Olivia is looking for even a glimpse of hope from your eyes. Olivia is out of ammo, so she continues unarmed. Olivia looks dead. She has foam coming from her mouth. Olivia seems very unsure about what to do. Olivia's head. On his memo, the man had written down an address that pointed to the kingdom of Rondon. On the first glance, the mass on his head looked like a parasite of sorts. But upon closer inspection, it looks to be just a growth or a mutation. On the first glance, but upon parasite of sorts. But upon closer inspection, it looks to be just a growth or a mutation. On the surface level, these stories don't contradict with themselves too much. But on an ideological level, there are interesting differences. On your second sip, you notice some of the finer nuances of the drink. The mild aftertaste of saline from the olives. And is that lemon zest you taste? Once an older god is born, it has existed forever. A god, like a human soul, is not constrained by linear time and space. It can reincarnate multiple times within our history and future history without us knowing any better. And she realized her children would never be able to return the same amount of affection back to her. Her love took a more twisted form once she realized her children would never return the same amount of affection back to her. Her love took a more twisted form. One could almost be fooled into thinking this was an altruistic act. Of course, in a true yellow mage manner. You'd be the one on top of the pyramid this time around. One day the letters ended. It was natural for letters to get lost in all the chaos, but you couldn't help your ominous feelings. One day the local doctor and aristocrat, Baron Einar von Dutch, came to your dirty office out of curiosity. One day, you got an ominous task from the officials of the Kingdom of Rundon. You are to be paid well in silver to get a captain of a fabled mercenary army out of the dungeons of Rondon itself. One document caught your interest especially. It had a sketch of a cubic object with various ornaments and sigils carved all across it. One must never assign sigils, not meant for their founding circles. That is the lesson to take from here. One night your sister noticed you reading through her books. You were afraid of her reaction. Instead, she tried to help you understand the charts and diagrams better. One of the Alamer's most trusted apostles, the one who would later be known as the Deceiving One, betrayed his master and gave out his location to the forces that wanted Alamer gone. One of the swords wasn't complete rubbish, and one of the Alamer's most trusted apostles, the one who would later be known as the Deceiving One, betrayed his master and gave out his location to the forces that wanted Alamer gone. One of the swords wasn't complete rubbish, and one of the spears appeared to be in a surprisingly good shape. You couldn't carry both around. You didn't want to over-encumber yourself after all. One was born with a shadowed soul, and one with a radiating soul. Only one managed to survive through all the horrors. Only a fly amanita here. Only faint traces of her presence still linger in the air. Only in the darkness of the night does the true and vile nature of men get revealed. We share our decrepit bodies only to the select few under the moonlight, only living through this church. Only our one God truly knows where things would have advanced in Bremen if it wasn't for the Kaiser appearing out of nowhere and taking reins of that runaway horse. Only piercing and otherworldly attacks seem to penetrate the shell. Only school books here. Nothing useful to you. Only the chains remain. Only when I'm alone in here, during the late hours. Only then I notice the true nature of these hallways. The cracked floor tiles, decrepit toilets, the moldy planks that rise up to the endless heights. Only this time you notice something hidden under a sleeping bag. Someone from the archaeological crew must have tried to hide it from the others. Open the chains with the basement key. Opening the school desk revealed talking board instructions as well. Or are they more than friends? In some photos they do seem awfully close. Or maybe there is no electricity. Or only this time you notice something hidden under a sleeping bag. Someone from the archaeological crew must have tried to hide it from the others. Open the chains with the basement key. Opening the school desk revealed talking board instructions as well. Or are they more than friends? In some photos they do seem awfully close. Or maybe there is no electricity. Or that is at least what Dahlia told you afterwards. You were still a bit young to remember properly, but you could have sworn that Dahlia never consulted your parents about your departure. Osar assists in this task. Osar cannot hold bone shears with just one arm. Osar cannot hold claymore with just one arm. Osar cannot hold crude sword with just one arm. Osar cannot hold eagle crest shield with just one arm. Osar cannot hold Galian greatsword with just one arm. Osar cannot hold iron spear with just one arm. Osar cannot hold lantern flail with just one arm. Osar cannot hold longinus with just one arm. Osar cannot hold mola. Osar cannot hold longinus with just one arm. Osar cannot hold mola with just one arm. Osar cannot hold meat grinder with just one arm. Osar cannot hold reaper's rake with just one arm. Osar cannot hold ritual spear with just one arm. Osar cannot hold Sergal's spear with just one arm. Osar cannot hold shield without arms. Osar cannot hold short bow with just one arm. Osar cannot hold spider shield with just one arm. Osar cannot hold war scythe. Osar cannot hold Osar cannot hold spider shield with just one arm. Osar cannot hold war scythe with just one arm. Osar cannot hold weapons without arms. Osar cannot hold wooden buckler with just one arm. Osar died because of his infected wound. Osar disappeared somewhere while you were sleeping. Osar has an empty look on his eyes. He seems to be in peace with his fate. Osar has lost both legs and arms and is useless now. Osar has no arms to use the syringe. Osar has too many limbs cut. He is in a state of shock. Osar is down. Osar is facing away from you and talking to himself. Osar is grabbed by the bony grasp of the appendage. Osar is just observing the sewage system. Osar is looking a little pale. Osar is looking rather bored. Osar is transfixed with the television. Osar is walking around and observing the surroundings. Osar looks bored. Osar looks dead. He has foam coming from his mouth. Osar looks puzzled. Osar looks straight at you without flinching his expression a bit. Osar looks very casual, as if nothing out of ordinary is happening. Osar pulled the arrow from his shoulder. Osar seems to be observing his surroundings. Osar seems to be talking to himself. Osar wandered off and took a seat in the club. Osar seems to be talking to himself. Osar wandered off and took a seat in the club. Osar wandered off to the next cabin. Osar's body. Other than that, he doesn't seem that off-putting. Other than that, and the sunken, glassy eyes, he seems to be in relatively normal condition. His body seems to be vulnerable to piercing attacks, and his clothing would catch fire easily. Other than that, he doesn't seem that off-putting. Over the past week or so, since the full moon, people all over Prehevel and its neighboring settlements see this face in their dreams every night. Over time, her love blossomed into a more obsessive form, and she would take a more hands-on approach in controlling the direction her children took in life, always having their best interest in mind, of course. Over time, her love blossomed into a more obsessive form, and she would try to guide her children more and more. Over time, you got better acquainted with the daughter of the house. Her name was Elise. She would be endlessly amused by your childhood stories and all the madness your past cult life brought with it. Pav gives you a smile. Pav is busy thinking. Now's your chance. Pav is down. Pav is looking intensely to your eyes, and Pav is down. Pav is looking intensely to your eyes and measuring you. Pav is measuring you cautiously from head to your toes. People cherished their hardship and drew inspiration from it. They learned from it. What followed was advancement that mankind had not seen since the forgotten ages. People forgot the teachings of the old in times of diseases and death, and turned on to this new savior. People walked the streets of Rondon every day, without knowing what was lurking in the shadows of every dark corner of the world. People will rather stay in the world created by our shared consciousness. The logic is designed so that each individual human in the system will affect the surrounding world. Perhaps the cabin windows have been covered up by someone. Perkekle doesn't seem easily intimidated. Perkekle greets you in a monotonous voice. Perkekle is dead. Perkekle. Perkele. The name does sound familiar to you, but you are not sure where you've heard it before. Perkekle. Perkele. The name does sound familiar to you, but you are not sure where you've heard it before. Pesticide is leaking from the canister constantly. Vile took a good breather of his own pesticide without his mask on. Pick up the bear trap. Pick up the booby trap. Place the fellatio effigy on the pedestal. Place the hunger effigy on the pedestal. Place the martyr effigy on the pedestal. Place the hunger effigy on the pedestal. Place the martyr effigy on the pedestal. Place the martyr effigy on the pedestal. Place the hunger pedestal. Place them on the pedestal. Play intro. Place the hunger effigy on the pedestal. Place the martyr effigy on the pedestal. Play intro. Please refer to the operation manual for information on the personnel in charge. Pocket Cat is down. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Abella. Abella is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Black Caleb. Black Caleb is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Blood Golem. Blood Golem is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Don. Don is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Ghoul. Ghoul is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Corinne. Corinne is looking shocked and paralyzed over every... Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Corinne. Corinne is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Levi. Levi is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Marco. Marco is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Marina. Marina is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Olivia. Olivia is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Osa. Osa is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to Villager. Villager is looking shocked and paralyzed over every minute detail. Pocket Cat is whispering his secrets to you. Oh no, it can't be. Outrageous. You feel sick. No more, please. Poem I. The blackened heart stakes are high. Poem I. The blackened heart stakes are high. You are also and more so. Live your lie and play with my blood torso. Portraits of school. Poem I. The blackened heart stakes are high. You are also and more so. Live your lie and play with my blood torso. Portraits of school staff. Everyone shares one common feature. 1,000-yard stare. Pour gasoline into the tank. Pre-evil. It is your hometown. Even if it has a tainted past painted all around its narrow alleyways. Pretty soon you found yourself at the edge of a cliff. The sight reminded you of the ravine upstairs. Most likely the chasm before you was the very same. Prophecies are only for those who are weak enough to bend to their sorry fates. You need to find this man and learn more. To your current knowledge, he would be found imprisoned at the notorious dungeons of fear, hunger. Quickly vermouth in the drink takes over. Prophecies are only for those who are weak enough to bend to their sorry fates. You need to find this man and learn more. To your current knowledge, he would be found imprisoned at the notorious dungeons of fear, hunger. Quickly vermouth in the drink takes over, however, as its sweetness becomes more dominant in the aftertaste. Ragnvalder. Ragnvalder. No, Ragnvalder. Very well. Ragnvalder ignores you completely. Ragnvalder looks disappointed at you. Randvalder seems to think this course of action benefits you both in your survival. Rancid has nothing of worth anymore. Random documents fill the table. For the most part, the documents are just illegible ramblings. Random documents scattered on the table. None of them catches your interest. Random junk around the table. Looks like someone has stayed here recently. Random junk around the table. Looks like someone has stayed here recently. Random junk. Fill the shelves. Random schematics are laid on the table. Random scribblings. Fill the notebook. Random selection of books are left here. None of them catch your interest. Random shop goods are left here. They seem to be goods for everyday life. so they don't really help you in this particular situation. Recipes for basic alchemy. Blue food, red thuving, greater healing properties. Green, red thuvin, mild poisons. Blue 4. Blue file. Recipes for intermediate alchemy. Blue fording pep pills. Super senses. Blue for red. Red herbs have little to no effect on their own, but when used together with other herbs they have a boosting effect. Red arc is now available in the hexen. Red-haired mechanic grabs you. Red. Red herbs have little to no effect on their own, but when used together with other herbs they have a boosting effect. Red arc is now available in the hexen. Red-haired mechanic grabs you. Her grip is surprisingly strong, regardless of his outward persona. Inside this man was a monster. Regardless, the creature doesn't seem to have any obvious weaknesses. Only otherworldly powers seem to get through its thick skin. Rayla is trying to get your attention. Rayla was worried that the operation in Prehevel was what Kaiser of Bremen Empire was after. There is still time before he could get here. I still have time. Those were Rayla's last words. Remove chains. Rest of the text is unintelligible and smudged over. It looks like someone didn't want you to read any further for whatever reason. Return of the King. Return of the Sun. Ricardo was able to organize big matches one after another. You started spending more time inside the family quarters with Ricardo and your sister. Ricardo was wary of you. He seemed to sense your killing intent from miles away, and that is why he avoided seeing you alone to the best of his abilities. Ritualistic murder sites are just around the corner no matter where you are in the city. While the churches look to be dedicated to our one true God Owl, Myrrh from the outside, insides tell a whole different story. Rotten ritualistic murder sites are just around the corner no matter where you are in the city. While the churches look to be dedicated to our one true God Owl, Myrrh from the outside, insides tell a whole different story. Rotten leftover. Or is this the food they serve to those imprisoned? Ritualistic murder and true God Owl, Myrrh from the outside. Owl. Myrrh from the outside. The outside. Myrrh from the outside. Myrrh from the outside. Insides tell a whole different story. Rotten leftover. Or is this the food they serve to those imprisoned? Rotten meat on a platter. Rust-colored pearls is all you got. What do you want to trade? Ruthlessly the kingdom would expand its reign, reducing the feeble citadels to ashes and bloodstains, enslaving the sweet womenfolk whilst every man is slain. Only spare a child or two, that it is legend may grow. Sacrifice Abella. Sacrifice Black Caliph. Sacrifice Kahara. Sacrifice Don. Sacrifice Dars. Sacrifice Enki. Sacrifice Ghoul. Sacrifice Levi. Sacrifice Logard. Sacrifice Marina. Sacrifice Nasra. Sacrifice Ragnvalder. Sacrifice Skeleton. Sacrifice the girl. Sacrifice the unnamed fetus. Sacrifice your own blood with blood sacrifice. Sacrifice your own child, baby demon. Sacrifice your own child, kid demon. Sacrificial circle. Done. Saladimir Laku. In the Sami room, with the ever-watching's eye, Samari is called sacrificial circle. Done. Saladimir Laku. In the Sami room, with the ever-watching's eye, Samari is Saladimir Laku. In the Sami room, with the ever-watching's eye, Samari is cautiously looking at you behind her bangs. Samari is down. Samari is in a confused state. Now's your chance. Samari is down. Samari is in a confused state. Now's your chance. Samari is just looking at you puzzled. Samari is lowering her stance, but something tells you that the danger is not over yet. But this might be your chance. Samari just keeps on crying. Samari seems to be calming down. Samari seems to be finally calming down. Samari's expression tightens. Save your character history. Saving people's lives like this save your character history. Saving people's lives like this even alleviated some of your inner guilt. You had taken lives of many, but maybe you could finally give something back as well. Scribblings in blood. You do not recognize the language. Sealed metal boxes. Seeing how Reela and your professor exchanged looks made jealously rear its ugly head once again. Seems like Black Caleb was waiting for you already. Seems like Black Caleb was waiting for you already. Seems like Henrik took it as sarcasm whether you meant it or not. Seems like someone has just been dumping everything they considered useless here. Why even store them in the first place? Seems like someone has just recently emptied the refrigerator. Seems like the generator needs more gasoline to start. Seems like the generator needs more gasoline to start. Seems like the small commotion caused by your exploration reached the ears of someone or something. Seems like you managed to infuriate Needles. Seems like your pleads just aggravate Vile even more. Separate backup generator for the lock system leading to the logic chambers. Seriously. Shamelessly, he scratches his groin area. Shamelessly, he scratches its groin area. Shamelessly, it scratches its groin area. She created men and women at the dawn of time. From the very first moments, she loved her children dearly. She created men and women at the dawn of time. From the very first moments, she loved her children greatly. She doesn't seem to have anything valuable. She gives you a faint smile. She doesn't seem to have anything valuable. She gives you a faint smile. She has been dead for a while now. Judging from the looks of her, she has nothing of value anymore. She has nothing of value. She has sewn her mouth partly shut, and there appears to be more sewn cuts scattered around her body. Their purpose is unknown to you, but they do distort her face beyond recognition. She has sewn shut her mouth partly, and there appears to be more sewn cuts scattered around her body. Their purpose is unknown to you. She, however, showed mercy and withdrew her dagger. She took steps away from you as your high priest masters glared gleefully at the event unfolding before their very eyes. She is dead now. She is dead. She's just shaking her head in denial. She is just staring at the pale moon in the dark sky. She is looking deep into your eyes, trying to measure you. She is offering you a loaf of bread. She looks really desperate. She looks to be dead. She refuses to say anything. She is just shaking her head. She seems to be finally calming down. She seems to be in a frenzy. Your pleads have no effect on her. She swirls around in a clumsy manner while admiring her own body. She was the pure representation of fear and hunger, not spoiled by even a glimmer of hope. She would get to see the world while you were stuck on your laurels. Nothing new there, you pondered. She is dead. Shillings is all you got. What do you want to buy? Shortly after that, you were enlisted to the army, so you never had a chance to recover your stash. Since he was unable to make the warring arts his own by conquering the kingdom and forcing it under his rule, he instead formed a brand new country inside the borders of Eastern sanctuaries. Since that moment, it was evident that the two of you would lead very different paths in life. Just as predicted, you were the polar opposites of each other from very early on. Since you didn't take the offer, Ricardo had another one on the platter. He proposed that he'd hook you up with a real boxing trainer to get you to the next level. Since you were a toddler, you had been traveling around the Europa with your parents. Skeleton, ack. Skeleton cannot learn the skill. Skeleton does its skeletal dance and ignores you. Skeleton has no flesh to make love to. Skeleton has taken too much damage. It is struggling to contain his soul. Skeleton just rattles at his bones and flexes at his arms. Skeleton seems completely fine with it. Skeleton seems itchy and twitchy. He is constantly scratching himself, even from places that are not suitable to public. Skeleton's attention is constantly grabbed by the dark screen of the television. Skip The character history. Skip the intro. Slowly, one step at a time, the ghoul approached you with his mouth stretched unnaturally open. Slowly, the figure approaches you. Slowly, Willem unwrapped the decorated paper with small mouse prints on it. Slowly, you feel your consciousness fade as it is replaced by the will of the thing. Smoke, tobacco, smoke, wild dagger. So even if the mission was to go south for some reason, you are not going to return empty-handed. So here we are now. I saw the signs. I'll prepare for my leave. In the meantime, I take temporary shelter at these outskirts. So, if you need to use the passage, let me know. So she set out to create the perfect human being, the pinnacle of man's potential, so that one doesn't lose his mind along with the soul. One must come prepared for all situations. So when she finally let your father know of your birth, she told him a daughter was born to the household. So when the kingdom of Rondon finally withdrew from the war, you rushed straight back home as fast as possible. So you ended up living with Dahlia in a rather decent-looking building. She was cashing checks to maintain your lifestyle. Some kind of alchemic furnace. Something has been burned here recently. The smell is that of old exotic spices. Some of your comrades lost their minds while others tried to pillage anything worthwhile before leaving the macabre place. Some useless junk. The person living here must be too lazy to carry their trash out. Somehow rest of the creature is all human. A human in peak physical form, sure, but normal human regardless. You have no explanations for what could have caused this mutation. Someone forgot their tea here. It is gone bad long ago. Someone had a lavish and grotesque dinner, so she set out to create the perfect human being. The pinnacle. Smoke, wild dagger. So even if the mission was to go south for some reason, you are not going to return empty-handed. So here, skeleton seems itchy and twitchy. Skeleton, act. Skeleton cannot learn the skill. Skeleton does its skeleton has taken too much damage. It is struggling to contain his soul. Skeleton just rattles at his bones, and skeleton's attention is constantly grabbed. Skip the character history. Skip the intro. Slowly, one step at a time, the ghoul approached you with his mouth stretched unnaturally open. Slowly, the figure approaches you. Slowly, Willem unwrapped the decorated paper with small mouse prints on it. Slowly, you feel your consciousness fade as it is replaced by the will of the thing. Smoke, tobacco, smoke, wild dagger. So even if the mission was to go south for some reason, you are not going to return empty-handed. So here we are now. I saw the signs. I'll prepare for my leave. In the meantime, I take temporary shelter at these outskirts. So, if you need to use the passage, let me know. So she set out to create the perfect human being, the pinnacle of man's potential, so that one doesn't lose his mind along with the soul. One must come prepared for all situations. So when she finally let your father know of your birth, she told him a daughter was born to the household. So when the kingdom of Rondon finally withdrew from the war, you rushed straight back home as fast as possible. So you ended up living with Dahlia in a rather decent-looking building. She was cashing checks to maintain your lifestyle. Some kind of alchemic furnace. Something has been burned here recently. The smell is that of old exotic spices. Some of your comrades lost their minds while others tried to pillage anything worthwhile before leaving the macabre place. Some useless junk. The person living here must be too lazy to carry their trash out. Somehow rest of the creature is all human. A human in peak physical form, sure, but normal human regardless. You have no explanations for what could have caused this mutation. Someone forgot their tea here. It is gone bad long ago. Someone had a lavish and grotesque dinner here. Someone forgot their tea. Someone had a lavish and someone forgot their tea here. It is gone bad long ago. Someone had a lavish and grotesque dinner here. Someone had set up modern tents beside the fortress entrance. It looked like an archaeological expedition had been studying the area somewhat recently. The site looked abandoned now. Someone has been sewing together different body parts. Someone has dropped their bag here. Simona has left a book here. Simona has left old coffee grounds here. Someone has nailed severed heads on the wall. Something about their placement suggests that they're here as a warning. Someone has thrown up in the toilet. Someone has thrown up here somewhat recently. Someone has vandalized the stool and written something under it. Simone hasn't flushed the toilet. Simone just came from the next cabin. Simona left their toolbox here. Simone or something had been chewing on the body. There were human-like bite marks all over the torso and neck. Simona wants to prevent trains from entering the city. Simone's leftovers. Simone's teeth are at the bottom of the bucket. They appear pretty small. They must be from one of the children living under this roof. Something about her feels strange. Something about the tower in front of you feels... Simone's teeth. Something about her feels strange. Something about the tower in front of you feels wrong. Your primal instincts tell you to run away. Something about this item raised the hair on your arms and made you sick from stomach. There was something special about this cube, no doubt about it. Something bothered you about the case, and you returned to the alley where you first found the man. Upon thoroughly searching the alleyway, you found a suitcase full of top-secret documents stolen from the Eastern Union. Something changed with Lagarde as well. He kept more to himself and studied ancient texts and occult. He became obsessed with some relics and artifacts that gave you ominous feelings and terrible nightmares. Something draws you towards these seats. Something falls down from the pockets of ghoul. Something good actually came from your traumatic experiences in Preheval. It did take years of therapy to realize this, but slowly you understood clearly not right about this mission, and you have felt nauseous since the moment you agreed on the job. But you are short on silver, and the reward is all that matters in the end. Something is dripping steadily to your mouth. It tastes foul. Something is making the noise. Maybe it is a hornet's nest, or something that attracts flies. Something is clearly something good actually came from your traumatic experiences in pre-heval. It did take years of therapy to realize this, but slowly you understood what you were truly capable of. Something in the suitcase caught your eye. You didn't notice before that there is something underneath the socks and underwear. Something is clearly not right about this mission, and you have felt nauseous since the moment you agreed on the job. But you are short on silver, and the reward is all that matters in the end. Something is dripping steadily to your mouth. It tastes foul. Something is making the noise. Maybe it is a hornet's nest, or something that attracts flies. Something is moving inside you. Something primal is trying to get out of your hollow shell. Your body, it is bursting at its seams. Something is slowly approaching from the upstairs. Something seems to be calling you from the depths. Something sticky and yellow is seeping from the inside that makes the refrigerator door stuck. Something tells you that there might be something hidden here. Something seems to be calling you from the depths. Something sticky and something tells you that there might be something hidden here. Something was definitely off. You decided to take off and travel to Bohemia yourself. Something weird was definitely going on. Something's been written on the book. Something's been written to the book. Soon Ricardo showed his true colors as well. He had been building you up for a fated boxing match. Apparently your next opponent was a former family member who had cut all ties to the organization. Your job was to kill him in a boxing match. Sounds like cackling. Sounds like the beehive inside this creature is activating. The buzzing sounds intensify. Sounds like the pit is quite deep. Sounds like there is something inside the lamp. Spending 3 days and 3 nights at the city of the gods, Mahabre, he would then return among living. Alamer came back, not just to spread his gospel, but also to extract his revenge. Spirits can spending 3. He would then return of the gods. Mahabre, of the gods. Mahabre, he would then return among living. Alamer came back, not just to spread his gospel, but also to extract his revenge. Spirits can only manifest before you when you are close enough to them. If a spirit is willing, it can lead you to it using the talking board as its means of communication. Still, you were able to save up 10 shillings. Still, your 6th sense was tingling. The new gods were a group that had been talked about since the cruel ages of history. They were the typical secret society, controlling different nations from behind the curtain and puppeteering those seemingly in power. Stitches is mumbling something, but her mouth is stitched shut, so she cannot talk properly. Stitches is trying to gesture something, but you make sense of her. Stitches seems to be halting her attacks briefly. You are surprised yourself how easy it was to actually persuade her. Stitches swipes her hair to the sides of her head. Stitches tries to mime spitting, but because of her stitches it doesn't quite work. You interpret this as her getting angry though. Struggling just makes his grip sink deeper. His grip causes numbing pain which you cannot resist. Studies of Alamerai. Studies of Sylvianai. Suddenly Black Caliph stops on its hooves. Suddenly the hand movement came to a halt. Suddenly you heard loud banging and suddenly Black Caliph stops on its hooves. Suddenly the hand movement came to a halt. Suddenly you heard loud banging and screeching coming from the entrance hall. Adrenaline was rushing through you as you ran back to see just what was causing the noise. Supposedly, a select group of children who were considered naturally gifted at channeling the otherworldly were locked at the 9th circle, where their bodies would wither in an ancient rite to receive any messages from the older gods. All without luck. Sylvian, the goddess of love, lust, and creation. Sylvian forced mankind more to her Sylvian, the goddess of love, lust, and creation. Sylvian forced mankind more to her liking and closer to her own image with her gift to humans. The love magic, otherwise known as the flower magic. Sylvian has blessed you with the marriage of flesh. Sylvian is often associated with Grogoroth, the god of destruction, and their offspring Vinuska, the god of nature. Sylvian is often associated with Grogoroth, the god of destruction, and their offspring Vinuska, the god of nature. Sylvian is the goddess of love, lust, and creation. Sylvian would shape mankind more to her liking and more into her own image with her gift to people. The love magic, otherwise known as the flower magic. Symptoms, effects: concussion, fracture or broken bone, bleeding wounds. Symptoms, effects: confusion, withdrawal symptoms, severe withdrawal symptoms. Symptoms, effects: different stages of hunger, different stages of fear. Symptoms, effects: infected wound on arm, infected wound on leg, blindness or other eye trauma. Symptoms, effects: irritation, burn, temporary paralysis. Symptoms, effects: irritation, burn, temporary paralysis. Symptoms, effects: mild poisoning, poisoned, toxic, severe poisoning. Symptoms, effects: severe mental trauma, severe physical trauma, nausea, sickness. Take great pride in knowing this. Take the joy mask. Take the rifle on the wall. Take your own life. Taking out legs will often rock the balance of the enemy and make them vulnerable for headshots. Talking to yourself or the voices inside won't save your sanity. Tanaka doesn't react to your words in any way. He look almost possessed or crazed or hellbent in killing you. Tanaka grabs you. He doesn't seem so strong, but he has got you in some kind of a joint lock. Tanaka has a blank expression on his face. He doesn't seem to react to any of your moves. Tanaka is down. He has a gaping bullet hole in his head. Tanaka is down. Tanaka is looking extremely grim. Tanaka looks dead. Tanaka is looking extremely grim. Tanaka looks dead. He has foam coming from his mouth. Tanaka lowers his guard. He seems to be a bit wary of you still. Teachings of Alama are written on the Bible. Tears form on Karen's eyes. She is clearly terrified of dying. Telelectroscope, an interconnected computerized system which documents our lives and extracts information from our consciousness. The data is abstracted from banks of every person in the whole human system. Telelectroscope is now set on. Termina. You finally remember where you've heard the name Pakela before. The deity is often linked with the so-called Festival of Termina. Test tick table. Done the wall of enlightenment. In progress. Thank you for playing Abella. Thank you for playing Donna. Thank you for playing Karen. Thank you for playing. Thank you for playing Donna. Thank you for playing Karen. Thank you for playing Levi. Thank you for playing Marco. Thank you for playing Marina. Thank you for playing Olivia. Thank you for playing Osa. Thank you for playing. Thank you for showing interest anyway. That combined with lifting weights, the sofa at your apartment, dragging horse carriages with your body along with other resistance exercises, proved to have obvious effects. That didn't mean that there weren't those who tried. She started to get close with the known mobster Ricardo Accardo. That is, if he is to survive the harsh world until then. That is my light at the end of the tunnel. The light that keeps me going. That is when both conscious and unconscious mind are activated. That is when the processing power of the human mind is at its fullest potential. That name, Nasra, that was a name you were not expecting to hear. It was a name even the yellow mages only talked in the darkest hours of the night. That proved out to be more difficult than you expected. The ground was hard, so there were barely any footsteps left on it. After meandering about for a good while, you stumbled upon the wreckage just by sheer accident. Lucky you. That was until you found the basement door partly open. In the darkness below, you could only tell apart. That proved out to be accident. Lucky you. That was until you found the basement door partly open. In the darkness below, you could only tell apart the silhouette of a person who had died standing in the middle of swirling ritual circles. That is when you knew it was time to go once again. The air cools down and becomes thicker. It feels heavy just to breath. The air got lighter again. Feels like a burden is off your shoulders. The altar of the new gods. To appease the one sitting at the grand hall, You must put forth a worthy offering. The altar was a typical ritual crucifix used to worship Alma, the Ascended One. A sacrifice would be put on the cross, and their blood would slowly be drained for days to come. The ancient tribes of men used to live in a symbiosis with the nature, with its cycles of destruction and creation. The appearance and the condition of the statues suggested that they were a lot older than anything that had been built around them over the years. They were probably there even before the whole fortress existed in the first place. The appearance of the god of fear. Hunger started the fourth age in which mankind had to learn to adapt and evolve. As times have progressed, we are still living according to this ideology. The archaeological crew had been digging deep and revealed something that should have stayed hidden. Ancient structures could clearly be seen protruding from the rocky surface. The archaeological site seemed relatively new, maybe a couple years old at tops. There were no signs of people. Whoever had set it up had long abandoned the place too. The areas with the least burn damage looked like normal skin with severe rash and blisters. The armor is a great example of the two cultures of Edo and Eastern sanctuaries melting together. The armor on the Valkyrie prevents you from biting through. The armor on the Valkyrie prevents you from penetrating the skin. The article goes on and on about the small details, but that seems to be the gist of the article. The asymmetric circle, the only link between a man and an older god. The atmosphere on the table became very cold suddenly. The bandaged man slowly turns towards you. The bandages slow down the bleeding, but he is still not out in the clear yet. The Baron himself learned of you upbringing as well, and was fascinated by Sylvian and her healing properties. The Baron used to work as a doctor, and he had very different concepts for healing and mending wounds. The barrel contains gore and some white substance. It reeks terrible. The barrel feels heavy, but you can't get the cork to open. The barrel feels heavy. The cork is open. The barrel feels like hardened leather that has been burned to crisp. The barrel has been left here to gather rainwater. The barrel is empty. The barrel is left here to collect rainwater. The barrel is left here to gather rainwater. The water has been still for too long and is not drinkable. The barrel is left here to gather rainwater. The barrel reeks of fish. The barrel seems to be used as a trash can. There are just few napkins inside. The barrels appear empty. The barrels are set so you cannot examine them individually. It would be too much effort to move them around. The barrel's cork is sealed shut, but it feels like there is some liquid in it. The barrels might have once stored food items, but that was hundreds of years ago. There was nothing useful there anymore. The bars and the gates seem to hold the beast for now. But you didn't want to stay and find out whether the thing could eventually break in. The basement has been used to store useless junk. Other man's trash is your trash too in this case. The basement seems damp and dark from up here, as if something lurks down there waiting for. The basement seems damp and dark from up here. The basement seems to be heavily locked up with a specific key. The basics of alchemy. Alchemilia Vol. .1. The basics of any knowledge are always the most important. You need steady foundations in order to build the tower to the gods. The basket is full of potatoes. They are all growing mold now. The basket is full of potatoes. They are no use without boiling. The baskets are full of vegetables. Too bad they've gone bad now. The beast does hesitate a little bit, as if it is sensing your intimidating aura. The beast doesn't seem understand a thing you say, or it chooses to ignore you entirely. Either one could be true. The beast grabbed you violently and snapped your neck like a twig. The last thing your eyes registered was the monster's pulsating appendage hanging between his legs. Looks like all this just aroused the beast. The beast has entered this house. It is not my property any longer. The beast has nothing of value apart from the sword on its back. The beast has nothing of value. There are only two sword-shaped objects on the back of the beast. One with what looks like an eye in the middle, and one that appears to be a finely shaped Eastern sword. The beast has nothing of value. The beast seems to have the physique of a normal wolf, only 10 times bigger, has 3 eyes, possibly 4 and a mouth full of sharp teeth. The beast took my wife. It took my dignity. It took my faith. The beast was already charging towards you as you opened the gate, and slipped inside only seconds before the malformed monster smashed against the bars. The beast would have continued pummeling you if it wasn't for the blinding light shining from the outside. It was obvious that creature hadn't seen daylight in ages. The thing tried to shelter its eyes from the last rays of the sun. This gave you an opportunity to run past it. The beauty of these rites is that you cannot change them, but they can change you. The bed is covered in filth and junk. The bed is full of gore. You don't feel like sleeping in it. The bed is full of rubbish. The bed looks comfy and in tip-top shape. The bed looks comfy and relatively clean. The bed looks dirty and smells bad. The bed looks to be in a bad shape and very uncomfortable. The beekeeper just stares at you with his empty gaze. The beetleman showed the way with his lantern. Only Willem had trouble keeping up with the pace as Turculo flew fast deep inside the merwood with his man-beetle wings. The being has nothing of value. The being is gone. The big crate seems to be full of shop goods. The bin is scorched. The black vomit of the headless reeks horrible. A strong stench of feces and rot fill the air. You feel nausea. The black-haired girl nods. The blast door is shut. It doesn't look like it can be opened from this side. The blast door just closed behind you. The blend of the cocktail looks immaculate. You have no doubts that the taste will be just as good as you raise the delicate glass on your lips. The blisters on her face are festering, but at the same time parts of her face have dried up to crisp seemingly from inside out. The blisters on his face are festering, but at the same time parts of his face have dried up to crisp seemingly from inside out. The bloodshed attracts them. The bloody kasara on your hand sends a shiver down your spine. Just what is going on? The Bobby doesn't seem to understand intimidation. The body does look humanoid, but the muscle mass, the rock-solid skin, and the mutated head does make you wonder if it ever was a human to begin with. The body gives no indication of life anymore. The frame of the woodsman feels incredibly muscular, despite not looking like it at the first glance. The body has been dismembered by something that you cannot quite tell. There are many whip marks across the body. The body has gone through intense physical trauma. Looks like he suffered from severe burns. The body has nothing of value anymore. The body has nothing of value. Seems like he has been scavenged thoroughly already. The body has nothing of value. The body is badly mutilated. The body is in a horrible condition. It is impossible to tell what has happened to this person. The body is protected by a light chainmail, so slashing and piercing attacks have little effect. The cloth would catch fire easily, however, and the person seems to be vulnerable against otherworldly powers. The body is still relatively fresh, although mysterious malformations on his face make it difficult to measure the exact time of death. The body is too big for devouring. The body is too big for harvesting any organs. You can't even reach the torso of the gentleman. The body is too big. You can't get into the proper position to lay down your seed. The body itself is relatively frail, weak against piercing attacks, fire, and otherworldly powers. The body itself is relatively frail, weak against slashing attacks, fire, and otherworldly powers. The body itself is weak against slashing attacks, fire, and otherworldly powers. The body looks vulnerable to piercing and slashing attacks especially. The body of Needles feels muscular and tense even after his apparent death. The body of the Bobby was still pulsating steadily, but now it stopped. The body of the creature is too dry to eat. The body of the Crimson Father disappeared upon its defeat. No body equals no fertile ground for your seeds. The body of the Crimson Father disappeared upon its defeat. There is only an empty shell left behind. The shell looks fairly typical snail shell to you, but you are not an expert of snails though, so it is not 100% accurate information. The body of the Gullbro feels muscular and tense even after his apparent death. The body of the monstrosity is contracting violently. Your words don't seem to have a positive effect any longer. If anything, the thing seems to get even more furious from your persuasion. The body of the pillarman is incredibly sturdy. Seems like the thing is all muscle. The body of the tormented one feels sturdy even after his seeming death. Blood seeps from the exposed flesh with each kick. The body of the Valkyrie feels very muscular and tense, even after its death. The body seems sturdy and strong with no clear weaknesses. Its fur must catch fire easily, and there seems to be innate weakness against otherworldly powers. The body seems to be somewhat vulnerable to piercing attacks, as well as otherworldly powers. The body seems weak against pretty much everything, except it has properties that make it durable against otherworldly powers. The body seems weak against pretty much everything, except it has properties that make it durable against otherworldly powers. The body, despite lacking skin, is in a top condition. The body has next to no weaknesses apart from small vulnerability against fire. The bones are cracked. The book contains age-old writings of the famed poet Ranchambara. This book concentrates on the latter half of his lifetime and production. The book contains traditional recipes dating back to the 15th century cuisine. The book is summoning powers that exceed your understanding. The book is summoning powers that exceed your understanding. The book is the key. I've seen the macabre murals of the ancient city. I've lost myself in the endless maze of its lone alleyways. The book of fears and phobias. The book of medical science. The book of anatomia. Collected knowledge of Homer, of the Abyssonia. The book radiates light in every color of the spectrum. The books are growing together because of the white crust that is covering this entire building. The books have been neglected entirely. They are in too bad condition. The books here are simple school books. They are no use to you. The books seem to be in good and clear order. You check if there is anything interesting. The books show detailed schedules of everyone living in the orphanage. The bookshelf and the books have gathered mold in the basement. They are in bad condition. The bookshelf has nothing interesting to you. The bookshelf is full of old poetry from the kingdom of Rondon. The bookshelf is scorched. Nothing remains here. The bottom of the pit is shrouded in darkness, so you can't quite tell how deep the pit really is. The boxes are used to store cleaning products, but everything is covered in the same white crust, so you cannot be 100% certain on the contents. The boxes are used to store folders and papers, but everything is covered in the same white crust, so you cannot be 100% certain on the contents. The boxes got some basic lavatory equipment. They are all dirty and disgusting. The boxes have miscellaneous school supplies and papers in them. The boy from the mirror introduced himself as Melly, the sleeping twin brother of Willem that came to this world far too early, and thus he could only view the world from the land of opposites. The boy in army overalls grabs you. He doesn't feel so strong, but by sheer determination he seems to be keeping you down. The boy is avoiding your eye contact the best he can. You notice shot marks on the bend of his arm. Looks like he's been injecting himself with something. The boy is looking at you in disbelief, but is clearly tempted by your offer. The boy spat on the shoes. The boy starts to cry. The breaking point was the day you were to finally arrive at the boy starts to cry. The breaking point was the day you were to finally arrive at the dungeons. A heavy fog drowned your camp and made navigation impossible. Using compass that did no good as the thing was just spinning circles wildly. The Bremen lieutenant gives you a smile. The Bremen lieutenant is looking intensely to your eyes and measuring you. The Bremen lieutenant is still alive, just barely. There is a huge cut going from his chest to abdomen. The Bremen troops seized the power in a small city of Prehevel, located in central Bohemia, just west from Lake Verdite. The bucket has nothing interesting in it, just random rubbish. The bucket is full of filth. It is hard to tell details of the filth. The bucket is slowly filling with murky purple liquid. The bucket used for cleaning the tunnels. The building has totally collapsed. The bulletin board has information about upcoming school events. All of the events date back over 1 month. The bunk beds look alright. Nothing too fancy, but they serve their purpose. The cabinets contain documents of all the students and orphans that take residence here. The cabinets contain documents of random Prehevilian people. Apparently the orphanage has kept record of their previous orphans even after they leave the place. The cable ends here. The drop doesn't look too bad. You could jump down, but there would be no way back up from here. The cameo turned into Guardian cameo. The campsite had a couple of tents side by side, open crates full of digging equipment, and a makeshift table full of various documents scattered around. Behind the camp you found a larger digging site. The cardboard boxes are turning into a mush. They've been exposed to severe humidity. The carving is done. The carvings depict people joined together under the sun. The carvings look fairly recent. Despite mimicking an older style, the cash register seems untouched. Despite all the chaos in the town, the cat's back was facing Willem. Its hand was moving swiftly inside its pocket, while the two big yellow eyes gleamed inside a burlap bag in great excitement. The cell is full of mutilated flesh. The cell is locked with a simple, rusty lock. The centaur gives you a loud and distorted neigh. The chains are set really tight. Whatever is inside was meant to stay there. The chains have some kinds of sigils etched all over them. The chains won't budge. The chair fell over on its own. The chandelier has crashed through the ceiling. There doesn't appear to be a way back up. The chandelier has crashed through the floor. You could jump down if you wanted to. The chest had a thick and durable-looking lock. It must have been just that too, as it had survived the test of time, and undoubtedly a myriad of looters. The chest is empty. The chest looked old. It might as well have been medieval for all you knew. As you tried opening it, you realized the lock was still fully functioning. You could open it without a proper key. The chest looked old. It might as well have been medieval for all you knew. As you tried opening it, you realized the lock was still fully functioning. You couldn't open it without a proper key. The chest was almost empty. Only a small ring was laying on the bottom. You got Thorned Ring. The child has been dead for a long while. Whatever is happening in this city isn't the cause of death. The citrus punch really takes the drink to another level. The Cosmo truly is a light drink. Dangerously so. The city flourished during the cruel age in the 1600 SAS, but it quickly fell from prominence the closer we got to the modern times. The city flourished during the cruel age in the 1600 SAS, but it quickly fell from prominence the closer we got to the modern times. The city haunts my waking hours, relentlessly, endlessly. The city of Prehevil was meant to be just a stepping stone on your path to greener pastures. Instead, it turned out to be a place that shaped the very person you ended up becoming. The claustrophobic little box creates an atmosphere of condemnation and spite. The clock is stuck at 14:35. The clock mechanisms are locked in place now. The closed door was jolting from its hinges. Something big was trying to force its way through the door. Whatever it was created inhuman guttural sounds between its swings at the door. The closer to the destination you got, more feverish your dreams became. The remaining members of your ragtag fellowship were visibly sick from stress and otherworldly pressure that had befallen on you the moment you set out on your quest. The clothes and dresses on the rack are in a surprisingly good condition. The coffin is empty. Only a foul odor fills the dead space. The coin of judgment is your last chance in dodging the incoming attack. You can affect your chances by throwing a lucky coin into the mix by holding Shift key while you choose either heads or tails. The cold pistol grip feels familiar in your hands. You didn't think you'd be grasping to one so soon after leaving the front lines. The cold pistol grip feels familiar in your hands. You didn't think you'd be grasping to one so soon after leaving the front lines. The cold weather and the eerie fog seems to highlight its crude appearance. The place looks just as haunting as it does in your nightmares. The common folk was starting to gather around the cold weather and the eerie fog seems to highlight its crude appearance. The place looks just as haunting as it does in your nightmares. The common folk was starting to gather around the charismatic leader Lagarde, who shared the humble origins similar to farmers and villagers alike. There was definitely something otherworldly in his stature. The conflict between the Eastern Union and the Bremen Empire had dragged many neighboring countries to take part in the hostilities, and the Kingdom of Rondon was no exception. The containers are sealed shut tightly. The continent had never been touched by a civilized man. The land was tainted by ancient deities and gods you had never even heard of. The things you witnessed there left a mark in you that could never be washed away. The contraption doesn't have any seeming use. You have no idea about its purpose. The contraption itself stuck out just by not being stained with blood and filth like everything else. Judging by some of the equipment around, the elevator must have been used by the same archaeologic expedition that had set up the tents outside. The convex screen of the television distorts your reflection, and the thick glass muddies your shape even further. The corpse belonged to one of the adventurers who had delved here with the archaeological expedition. That is what his outfit told, at least. It was the traditional safari outfit you had seen in movies. The correct path must have been somewhere at the bloody chamber. The corridor has been blocked with the desks and chairs. The corridor that opened up was a long one with multiple cell doors covering each side. At the end there were large bars sealing off a staircase. Only a rusty old lock stood in your way towards the deeper darkness. The corridor that opened up was a long one with multiple cell doors covering each side. At the end, there were large bars sealing off a staircase. Only a rusty old lock stood in your way towards the deeper darkness. The corridor took you to a small intersection. To your left, there was a doorway to a small room, and to your right the corridor continued deeper to the darkness. The courtyard led to another door to the darkness. You pushed forward. The crate is just full of books for sale. Nothing interesting. The crate is sealed shut. The crates are full of random food items. The crates are just full of books for sale. Nothing interesting. The crates are locked with multiple locks. The crates are sealed shut. The crates have some random food items in them, but none of them are usable without preparing them first. The creature clearly has the torso of a human, but the upper body has mutated into the shape of a gun barrel or cannon. The creature couldn't have survived the fall. That is what you kept saying to yourself anyway. The creature doesn't have a distinct head for the seed to grow. The creature doesn't have a distinct head, so you cannot really saw anything. The creature doesn't have a mouth or even a distinct head. Your attempts to discuss with the creature are in vain. The creature doesn't seem to be able to utter spoken words. The creature doesn't seem to calm down. The creature has a sturdy shell, like exoskeleton, that seems to protect it from most kinds of attacks. Only piercing and otherworldly powers seem to penetrate the surface effectively. The creature has no distinct head to saw off. The creature has no distinct head, so you cannot plant your seed. The creature has no head. The creature has no heads or mouths to speak to. It doesn't seem to react to speech in any way. The creature has nothing of value. The creature has nothing of worth. The creature is butt naked and has nothing of value anymore. The creature is charging towards you in the middles of your sentence. The creature is down. The creature is fixated on the meat immediately. The creature is fixated on the pie immediately. The creature is hollow from the inside. There are no organs to harvest. The creature is hunkering up and down while holding the spear above its head. The body language seems that of aggravation. The creature is just pursing its lips back and forth. Whether it means something is a complete mystery to you. The creature is not fertile enough soil for the brain flower to grow in. The creature is not fertile enough soil for the heart flower to grow in. The creature is seemingly just crying. The creature is tilting its head and taunting at you. The creature is tilting its head in confusion, trying to make sense of your words. The creature is tilting its head, trying to make sense of you. The creature is too far away to initiate a conversation. The creature is without its head. There is only a mouth-like gaping cavity in its place which seems to have muscles to simulate jaws and biting. The creature knew perfectly well how to utilize the dreadful weapon, as its thorns and spikes scrape the skin of your back. The creature looks like a mishmash of beehives. Even the insides are completely hollow. The creature looks like an animal of sorts. It definitely never was a human. The creature lost interest in you. Your intimidation efforts go to waste. The creature lost interest in you. Your persuasion efforts go to deaf ears. The creature must have had your scent as his footsteps clearly closed in on you at a rapid pace. You had to act fast. The creature remains are too dry soil for your seed to prosper. The creature resumes to its combat stance. The creature seems puzzled by your... The creature resumes to its combat stance. The creature seems puzzled by your request. The creature seems to be breathing. Still, despite your efforts, the creature seems to be gripping tightly into something. The creature seems to have a mixture of human and bird physique. The creature seems to have been sewn together from multiple different humans. The sewing work itself is impressive, but you wonder how exactly the creature is able to function. The creature seems to struggle breathing. The creature seems vulnerable to most physical attacks. Only blunt attacks might just sink in with the physique of the creature and thus not cause any real damage. The creature shows no signs on understanding your words. The creature swung furiously at you with its left molar arm. The creature takes a step back and measures you from head to toes. The creature tried to swing wildly with its arms, but you managed to dodge and finished your chant. You focused all your hatred and rage on a small radius around the monster's shoulder, which created a violent vacuum of energy. The void erased everything in its path. The creature tried to swing wildly with its arms, but you managed to dodge and thrust the sharp end of your staff through the beast's ribs, puncturing its lungs in the process. The creatures are tilting their heads and taunting at you. The creature's body is rock solid. The creature's body seems almost hollow. Parts of it sink in with the last breaths the creature takes. The creature's frame isn't very sturdy. It is weak against piercing physical attacks as well as otherworldly powers and fire. The creature's grip on the spear tightens, and its movements become more explosive. The creature's insides don't appear to be useful. The organs look alien to you. The crow gave a loud caw that was mixed with a deep resonating growl of an anguished man, and attacked you by swinging its mauling arm furiously at you. The crow gave a loud caw that was mixed with a deep resonating growl of an anguished man. That was all the warning you got as it charged straight at you. The crow had blood dripping from its gaping wound and its beak, but it kept advancing towards you regardless of its wounds. The crow is talking to you. The crow tried to go for your head, but only managed to take a chunk out of your shoulder. It was scary how easily the thing managed to wound you almost mortally. The crow was apathetic towards your attacks. It just kept staring through you with its lifeless eyes. The crow was apathetic towards your attacks. The creature stood up straight with the spear still jutting out from its gut. The thing showed no signs of pain. The crow was apathetic towards your attacks. The sword was stuck in its ribs, but it didn't seem to slow the creature down at all. The crows are feasting on the body. They don't seem to pay attention to you in the slightest. The crying of the weeping scope seems to cease. The cube doesn't react. The cube is burning hot from the previous use. You need to let it cool down before using it again. The cult of sulfur, the followers of Rare, the Church of Alamer. Were they any different from yellow mages? The cultist is down. The cultist seems to be considering your words. Momentarily, the cultist seems to be listening. The culture shock was quite drastic. You had never seen such poverty and such riches side by side in the street view. All the unfamiliar sounds and scents from spice vendors that circled your automobile. The cupboard holds nothing of value. The cupboard is a mess. Different houseware scattered everywhere. The cupboard is almost empty. There are only few small coins inside it. The cupboard is empty. The cupboards and shelves got nice and decorated tableware. The cupboards are grimy and disgusting. The cupboards are mostly empty. Just some plates and glasses fill the space. The cupboards contains everyday tableware. They aren't very useful in your situation. The cupboards hold random kitchenware. The cupboards only contain regular household items. Nothing of interest. The cupboards only got mice feces in them. The cupboards only stored dirty laundry. The curly-haired man grabs you with tremendous strength. The cycle of destruction and creation is seen in its purest form in nature. Thus it comes as no surprise that the very god of nature, Vinushka, is an offspring of the two older gods Grogoroth and Sylvian. The damage had already been done. You had killed a person. The damp basement has damaged the clothes inside the wardrobe. They are ruined and moldy. The dark fumes that rise from the pipes of modern cities are direct consequences of this era, an era that came to be known as the Cruel Age. The dark priests got no place for the weak, so you were thrown in an underground well. There you were meant to quietly wither away, but instead you fed on insects and other small critters that shared your fate down there. The dead man has got something bulging in his pocket. The death mask doesn't appear capable of speech or understanding. The desk and its drawers had been ransacked long ago already. Instead, you tried looking for things that were less obvious to common thieves and treasure hunters. The desk and its drawers had been ransacked. You didn't even bother looking too carefully, as you were sure all the valuables were long gone by now. The desk was trashed. Someone must have searched the desk. The developing body of this childlike creature has gone through severe malformations. Many anatomical points suggest that this creature once was a human child. The digging site was bigger than how it looked initially. The site expanded to nearby cliffs with wooden platforms leading down to a dark chasm. The discovery of this continent is the biggest mistake the mankind has ever made. The disturbed man raises his rifle and clearly tries to take an aim of you. The situation got dangerous all of a sudden. The document page is one of many. You do not have the previous pages, so it is difficult to make out the full context of the document. The documents didn't look like those of an Eastern Union spy. They looked the exact opposite, in fact. You decided to take the papers to Rondon by yourself. The documents were written in Bremen, so you couldn't make sense of them really. There were some very official-looking papers among them which suggested that the expedition orders came from someone high up in Bremen office. Maybe even from the Kaiser himself. The door crashed open and violently a huge malformed beast pushed in from the open doorway. The creature looked like it could have once been a human, but the darkness had distorted its features beyond recognition. The door crashed open. You saw a dark silhouette of a gigantic malformed being pushed from the open doorway. The creature made gurgling noises as it slowly wandered to the kitchen. The door crashed open. You saw a dark silhouette of a gigantic malformed being pushed from the open doorway. The creature made gurgling noises as it slowly wandered to the other room. The door doesn't budge. The door doesn't open. It must have additional safety locks inside. The door is locked from the other side. The door is locked with a reinforced lock. The door is locked with a reinforced lock. The door is locked with a simple lock. There is handwriting on the door that says, "Please do not disturb." The door is locked with a simple lock. The sign says, "Closed on tomorrow." The door is locked. The door is locked with a simple lock. The sign says, "Closed on tomorrow." The door is locked with a simple lock. The door is locked. Seems like someone has tried to force it open, and the lock mechanism is busted because of that. The door is locked. The door is sealed shut because of the mold-like growth. The door is sealed shut by some sort of mold. The door is stuck. The door is too strong for you. The door lock is broken. The door only opened from the other side. The door seems to be locked from the other side. The door seems to be locked from the other side. The door to the confessional is locked from the other side. The door to the previous cabin is locked from the other side. The door won't budge. It must be locked from the other side. The door won't budge. The door won't open. It seems to be locked from outside. The door won't open. It seems to be locked from the other side. The door won't open. It seems to be locked with an electric lock. The door won't open. It is locked from the other side. The door won't open. Something is blocking the door from the other side. The doors are locked from the other side. The doors are stuck, but there is no keyhole or any other visible lock mechanism. The doors are too strong for you. The doorway has been boarded up. The doorway has collapsed. The door won't open. It is locked from the other side. The door won't open. The doorway has been boarded up. The doorway has collapsed. The building is completely destroyed otherwise too. The doorway is boarded up from outside. Is it to keep something in? The doorway is completely blocked by the boxes. The downstairs sound quiet. The drawers don't seem to have anything interesting in them. The drawers only got bookstore flies in them. The drawers only have everyday items for hotel residents. Nothing catches your attention. The dried man is holding something tightly in his fist. The dried man looks dead. He is not breathing and looks almost mummified for whatever reason. The drink is doing a fine balancing act between being a dry martini and wet martini. Just a little bit more vermouth, and you couldn't call the drink dry anymore with good conscience. The dungeons open before you. You won't leave the ruins without Legard. One way or another, you two will be reunited, even if it requires you to give up on your principles. The dungeons were as dilapidated as their ulterior suggested. You cautiously explored the place in a torchlight. You didn't get far when you already heard guttural growls echoing in the empty hallways. The dungeons were dead silent apart from the small ruckus caused by you going through the officer's room. Whatever still lived in the darkness would hear you loud and clear. The earliest heads looked like several weeks old, while the most recent ones seemed to be freshly cut. The Eastern Union had been working on something malevolent and ill-boding in the country of Bohemia, and it seemed like Bremen wanted to get their hand on this project. The eerie woman reveals blood-stained knives underneath her apron. The empty gaze pierces through you as you feel your adrenaline run high. The effects of different colored alchemic substances are listed here. The effects of different herbs and plants are listed here. The elevator door seems to be stuck from this side. The elevator is busted. There doesn't seem to be a way back up. The elevator is busted. You can only see the darkness of the elevator shaft. You could perhaps lower yourself down using the cables that are hanging loose. The elevator is busted. You can only see the darkness of the elevator shaft. The elevator is busted. The elevator is not responding. The endless void above in the sky taunted you. It laughed at you. You had finally realized how minuscule humans truly were in the grand scheme of things. The entire room is focused on this television set. The events of pre-Hevel shook you to the core. Suddenly, many things in life felt meaningless against this overwhelming realization of what hides behind the veil between the known and the unknown. The experience level of alchemy. Alchemilia Vol. .3. The expression of his face becomes more serious all of a sudden. The expression on the face of Needles becomes deadly serious. The expression on the man's face is that of anguish. The eye-patched man grabs you. He doesn't seem so strong, but he has his fingers on your nerves, and it forces you to stay put. The eyes of the janitor bulge out from their sockets as his expression intensifies. The face of the beetleman was obscured. He wore a similar mask Willem's grandfather had worn in the war to avoid gas from melting his eyes and burning his lungs. The fact that he had created that bind already, that means he must have been dead already. The faucet doesn't budge. It is stuck no matter how hard you try to wring it. The Fellatio effigy is set on the pedestal. The Fellowship became the new gods we know and love today. The Fellowship Chapter 1. The following pages tell of the events that took place in the year 809 after the birth of our Christ, the Ascended One. The Fellowship Chapter 2. The Fellowship found their way to the ancient tombs that would lead them to their confrontation with the older gods. The Fellowship consisted of 5 people, Francois. The Dominating One, Nilvan. The Endless One, Valtiel. The Enlightened One. The Fellowship persisted through the Fellowship consisted of 5 people, Francois. The Dominating One, Nilvan. The Endless One, Valtiel. The Enlightened One. The Fellowship persisted. The Fellowship consisted of 5 people, Francois. The Dominating One, Nilvan. The Endless One, Valtiel. The Enlightened One. The Fellowship persisted through the numerous hazards and dangers the older gods threw at them. Eventually, all 5 of them would reach the golden gates of Mahebra, the very same gates Alo Mur ascended from 800 years prior. The Fellowship persisted through the Fellowship persisted through the numerous hazards and dangers the older gods threw at them. Eventually, all 5 of them would reach the golden gates of Mahabra, the very same gates Mur ascended from 800 years prior. The fellowship persisted through the numerous hazards and dangers the older gods threw at them. Eventually, all 5 of them would reach the golden gates of Mahavra, the very same gates Mur ascended from 800 years prior. The fellowship tore down the legacy of the old gods and created a new world order, an age where mankind decided their own fate, an age of growth and prosperity. The fellowship was formed to seek the older gods, who left humanity without guidance, without aid in the times of great peril. The few books that were still left were all in a terrible condition. None of them looked interesting, but behind a large encyclopedia of torture, you found an old wine vial. The figure met its fate on the hanging tree. The figure only giggles at you faintly. The filing cabinet is full of old news articles. Nothing too interesting. The firearm feels oddly heavy in your hands. You didn't think it would feel like this. You realize that you're carrying a tool meant for killing, and this just adds to the burden. The firearm feels oddly heavy in your hands. You didn't think it would feel this hefty. The iron against your skin. It creates a rush in your head. The firearm feels unwieldy and a bit clumsy. You've seen soldiers carrying one. You've seen movies where people use one. Now it has come down to you using one. The first blood. The foolish braggart who just moved in. The first blood. The lunatic that raves about the moon and stars to all day's end. The first blood. The one who talks only to her plants. The first horror to befall on him was a 2-day-old carcass of a once beautiful deer, now defiled by the pest of the forest floor devouring its remains. The first tent had sleeping bags and clothing scattered about. Among the useless junk you managed to find 5 matches. The first tent had sleeping bags and clothing scattered about. Useless junk for the most part. The flayed exterior of this man has all the muscles and veins exposed. Yet the tormented one didn't seem to care about it, nor did it affect his performance. The flickering light of the bonfire soothes you despite the horrors waiting you outside. The flickering light of the bonfire soothes. The flock of crows clawed your eyes. You lose your eyesight completely. You can only see faint silhouettes here and there, but otherwise it is a dark world now. The floor tiles feel loose. Here, the flower is still growing. It is not ready to be harvested yet. The floor tiles feel loose. Here, the flower is still growing. It is not ready to be harvested yet. The flyer tells to contact us, but there is no contact information to be found from the flyer. The forgotten and long-dormant god of the depths perished that night. Only an older god never truly perishes. In its stead, the god of fear and hunger planted its roots and started to grow her influence on the surface world. The Forgotten One was a scholar of many arts and sciences, and as such believed what was laid before eyes. The older gods would use this to their advantage and create a grand lie, a lie about the greatest scheme of things. The Forgotten One was never again seen or heard. The 5th one simply disappeared in the dusts of time. The Forgotten One was the last trial the old gods had in store. His purpose in the grand scheme of things was to create doubt and unease between the fellowship. The fortress felt menacing the closer you got to it. Its insides were pitch black. No light penetrated the eternal darkness that resided in that god-forsaken place. You braved through your initial fight-or-flight reaction and walked in. The fortune teller flips a card. The 4 ages of modern history. The modern age and modern chronology begins from the birth of our Lord, the Ascended One, Al-Elmer, the 4th blood, and the final sacrifice. His puppets will bear witness to his bloodletting. The 4th blood and the final sacrifice. The girl who keeps me up at night. The songbird that utters her last whimpers. The freshly squeezed lime presents the dominating sour flavor, but it is balanced masterfully with the sweetness that comes from the triple sec. The liquor gives the drink sweet orange flavor. The frog makes faint sounds. The fusion looks so perfect that you cannot tell which is the point of origin in its transformation. The future of telelectroscope. People become obsessed with these fake friends who exist in the walls. Ultimately, people will begin to shun personal contact, preferring to interact with each other via machine technology. The galvanized chain seems tough and durable. You'll need some serious leverage to cut it. The garage is empty. The gate hinges were starting to get loose. It seemed like the creature could have broken in at any moment, really. You decided to head back down while you still could. The gate is locked firmly with 2 different padlocks. The gate is locked from the other side. The gate is locked with a complicated mechanism. The gate is locked with a simple lock. The gate is too strong for you. The gate was locked with a reinforced lock. You tried to remain cool, as you hoped for the prison keys to work. The generator is running now. The genitalia is a especially curious case. From a first glance, the obvious conclusion would be that a parasite attached itself there. But on a closer inspection, it might actually be some kind of an unnatural growth malformation. The gentle wind on your cheek feels alien. With this newly acquired understanding, even the most minor sensations have this altered nuance to them. The moonlight tainted your existence. The gentleman is dead. The gentleman seems to be hesitating a little bit. The ghoul is breathing heavily. You can hear death rattle deep within him. The ghoul manages to stand up. Now name your new possession. The ghoul stares at you with empty eyes, mouth open, without a worry in the world. The ghoul was waist deep in the trench, unable to climb back up. Desperately, he tried reaching out for you with his blood-soaked hands. The whines and growls turned into agitated shrieks as it furiously tried to snatch you. The giant creature is missing its head. It seems to have been severed cleanly. The giant has nothing of value. The giant is furiously shaking its head. It doesn't seem very receptive at the moment. The giant seems to be calming down a little bit, but just a little bit. It is still clearly after you. The giant's body feels tough. Each kick hurts you more than it does the thing. The giant's physique is a complete medical mystery. You can't make any logical sense of it. The girl in pink is trying to get your attention. The girl is cautiously looking at you behind her bangs. The girl is clearly shaken. The girl is crying and hysterical. The girl is dead now. The girl is not willing. The girl just keeps on crying. The girl seems to be in shock still. The girl seems to struggle. The girl in pink is trying to get your attention. The girl is cautiously looking at you behind her bangs. The girl is clearly shaken. The girl is crying and hysterical. The girl is dead now. The girl is not willing. The girl just keeps on crying. The girl seems to be in shock still. The girl seems to struggle a little. The girl, she is your sister Rila. There is no mistaking it. The glass screen is too filthy for you to see inside. The glass window is dirty with murky liquids foaming inside. The goat eats the carrot without any festivities. The goat is shaking its horns in agreement. The goat is shaking its horns in disagreement. The goat joins your party. The goat stares to the distance with its glassy eyes. On the first glance, the creature seems harmless, but upon further investigating it, you are met with feelings of great dread. The god of fear and hunger. There are popular texts that tell stories of a false god and a chosen human joining together in the darkest and the wettest of dreams. The god of fear and hunger was a pure child, a blank slate birthed in the darkest pits of human creation. That is where she grew. That is all she knew. The gods didn't answer to your prayers this time, but you made a pact with the said god for life. The gods don't approve with your way of life. The gore looks like it has been chopped into small pieces. Maybe someone made food from it. The ghoul was still stuck in the rubble. It seemed like he wasn't able to climb up from the trench. The thing just kept reaching out for you with saliva dripping from his crooked mouth. The grand lie told of the way the older gods directed the flow of mankind. That many had gone before the same trials as the Fellowship. Yet nothing had changed for the better for men as eons went by. The Grand Priest has nothing left. The grandfather clock has stopped working. It is stuck at 1435. The great debate of Prehevel, held in June 1919 at Grand Palace of Prehevel in Bohemia by two morning sides of the Great War. The great kingdoms were slowly rotting away, and the grand values mankind once aimed for were displaced by defiled principles and practices. The grid iron bridge connecting the two sides had completely collapsed on this end of the ravine. The grid platforms looked old and rusty. The platforms gave worrisome creaks as you walked on them. The whole thing seemed even shakier now that the annexing bridge had fallen to the pit. The grid platforms looked old and rusty. The platforms gave worrisome creaks as you walked on them. The fact that parts of the platform had already collapsed didn't exactly reassure you of their condition. The Gull Brother is cackling at you. The Gull Brother is only smirking at you. You feel ashamed that you tried bowing down again. The Gull Brother is cackling at you. The Gull Brother is only smirking at you. You feel ashamed that you tried bowing down again. The Gull Brothers are cackling at you. The Gull Brothers are only smirking at you. You feel ashamed that you tried bowing down again. The gun rack is full of rifles and other guns. The gun rack is full of rifles. The hag is just cackling at you. The hallway has been blocked by all this random junk. The hallway has collapsed. The hallway is blocked by these chairs. The hallway seems to be blocked here. The hay has been left at the mercies of the weather for way too long. It is all rotten. The head had deep lines running across it. In the place of its eyes were dark and empty sockets. The only hair on the head was the sparse mustache under its big nose. The head has been shot. There isn't enough soil to plant the seed. The head left out details from his story on purpose, but that did little to bother you. You had just jumped to the deep end of the otherworldly world. You couldn't have asked for more. The head of the creature has got hardened, naturally growing armor. You cannot penetrate it and lay down your seed. The head of the creature really is that of a bird, or a seagull to be more precise. At first, you thought it was just a mask. The head of the Sojob is confronting you. The head tilts cease. The cultist is now focused on you. The heads of the Sojob are confronting you. The heartless one vanishes before you. The helpless fetus breathes heavily as you put it down on the altar. The high priest will have his speech there. I fear that I lingered for too long. I should have left the city years ago already. The hole is filled with dirty substance. You have no idea what it is. The hole looks too tight to climb through, but you are wondering where the roots of this pale tree go. The home front was in disorder too. Someone had to step up and cover all the missing men now dying far away on some remote battlefields. The horsehead statue is in pieces now. The host body is breathing heavily. The hound doesn't appear to have anything. The hound is definitely dead. The hubris of man brought this upon us. But it is not because of cruelty. It is because of wisdom. Only through hardship could we see the errors of our ways. The hulking mass of the crow mauler was too much for the antique construction. The creature slumped down to the endless chasm with the collapsing parts and pieces. The hulking thing is dead now. The hulking thing seems to have gone through a large-scale transformation. There are signs in its anatomy that this thing once was a human. The human part of the thing appears dead. Only the crow-like growth on its back is still alive and kicking. The human sacrifices creep me out in this day and age. Even if I've seen the horrors of war, the crucifixes set around the city manage to send a chill down my spine. The hunger effigy is set on the pedestal. The husk of the bobby feels stiff and hollow. The husk of the monster is stiff and wiry under its loose skin. The insides are bloody and disgusting. The intermediate level of alchemy, Alchemilia Vol. .2. The iron frame of the elevator had bent from the fall. There was still a broken chain hanging on the roof. The chain must have lifted and lowered the elevator when necessary back when the elevator was still functioning. The janitor doesn't care about your threats. The janitor drops his guard in arrogance. He doesn't seem to view you as a serious threat. The janitor is screaming at the girl in pink. The janitor walked away to get more materials for the cubes. The janitor walked away. Apparently he has other slaves to look after as well. The key didn't fit the lock. The small key had been designed for smaller desks or chests. The key fit the lock perfectly. The kicks to the hull of the thing cause a hollow sound to echo. The kingdom of Rondon and the Allied forces suspect that this whole Bremen ambition is directly linked to the advanced electronic network experiments the Eastern Union has been conducting in the area. The kingdom of Rondon claimed to follow the will of the gods in its pursuit for more power. But all the rewards seem to fall into the laps of the elite and nobles sitting comfortably behind the castle walls. The kingdom was enlisting all able-bodied men to the front lines, and you had no choice but to pack your bags and join the Great War. The Knights of the Midnight Sun lost the fight. The lamp doesn't turn on. There doesn't appear to be electricity. The lamp doesn't turn on. But the Knights of the Midnight Sun lost the fight. The lamp doesn't turn on. But then again, it is not even connected to a socket. The lamp doesn't work. Or if it does, the light doesn't come through the white crust. So it is all the same. The lamp has faint ornament letters. You cannot recognize the language, but it reminds you of Eastern sanctuaries. The lamp has faint ornament letters. You cannot recognize the language, but it reminds you of Eastern sanctuaries. The land is cursed. The land is morbid and dark. The last frontier. The Vinland Colonial. Chapter 1. The last push was considered especially aggressive, and it is widely considered to have advanced the peace agreements on a larger scale. The last sacrifice this cross saw must have been this skeleton. There was no blood dripping from the cross anymore, so no protection from Alomere either. The last thing you see, the last sacrifice this cross saw must have been this skeleton. There was no blood dripping from the cross anymore, so no protection from Alomere either. The last thing you see is the maniac grin on the priest's face as you lose consciousness. The leaked documents say the officials are stupid enough to think they even got a good deal out of it. They don't understand what they are handing over to Kaiser on a silver platter. The legends report that in the year 1009, a group of explorers from Oldegard first made contact with the island region of Vinland. The letter is encrypted by someone from the nameless Liberty Underground. It uses the same code language taught to you at the NL. You headquarters, you take a closer look. The letter told that your mother had passed away. The words were cold and without sympathy. The life was so much simpler back then. The little rat tried to slither away, but you grabbed him by his throat and kept slamming him on the floor until he stopped moving. The little worms started wrestling and devouring each other the moment they landed on the ground. Willem realized this is how the giant baby-faced blindworms got so big to begin with. The living flesh looks to be a lumpy mass of fat and muscles. It is barely able to function. The lock of the briefcase seems to be broken and jammed. The locker door is jammed. The locker door is stuck. The locker is empty apart from few old tatters. The locker is empty now. The locker is empty. The lone goat came to greet you. The goat seems to be following your every move attentively. The lone goat greets you. The goat seems to be following your every move attentively. The ludicrous amount of corpses did raise questions about the purpose of this chamber, but there was no one around to answer those questions anymore, so you just took everything at face value. The machine doesn't seem to react to your talk in any way. The malformations on Woodsman's face look violent and recent. It doesn't look like any sickness you'd be familiar with. Some kind of outside force has altered his looks and strength. The malformed archaeologist had extra members pushing through his trousers, some of which had grown talons just to perverse the human physique even further. The beast had noticed you and charged towards you with intense hatred. The man appears to be holding something that resembles a baby, but looks like a doll on a closer look. The man doesn't suffer from similar malformations and burns as the people you saw outside. His skin is very pale, in fact, almost like he hasn't seen sun in years. The man had been shot to the belly. Upon searching his possessions, you found his documents that said he was from the Kingdom of Romden, an allied country of Oldegard's. The man had important documents that needed to be taken to Kingdom of Romden as soon as possible. Because he couldn't obviously take them there himself, he asked if you could take his role. The man has severe burns and malformations around his body, especially on his face. Looks like his eyes are practically blinded by these. The man in the suit is talking to himself. The man is crying hysterically. He has scratch marks all over him. His skin is hanging loose on his cheekbones. The man is crying in a hysteric spasm while furiously scratching his skin off. The man is crying in pain. The man is long dead. You can tell by the stench alone. The man just keeps looking directly at you without saying a word. The man noticed you and desperately tried to run for it, only to collapse after weakly 10 meters or so. The man raises his meat. Mali is clear fury. He clearly has intentions of violence. The man raises his meat. Mali is clear fury. He clearly has intentions of violence. The man seems to be sleeping heavily. The man stayed unconscious for a week, but slowly recovered thanks to your attentive mending. The manor of Von Dutch was lifeless and dark on that gloomy day. You stormed through the countless rooms, but couldn't find a soul in sight. The manuscripts all seemed to be part of a bigger compilation, and you would have loved to have all of them with you. But you had a job to do and you couldn't burden yourself with too much extra luggage. The mark of Aloe raises the physical protection of its wielder. The mark of fear and hunger raises the agility of its wielder. The mark of Grogoroth raises the physical strength of its wearer. The mark of Ra raises the maximum capacity of the mind. The mark of Ra raises the maximum capacity of the mind. The mark of Sylvian raises the otherworldly protection of its wielder. The mark of Vinushka raises the otherworldly offense of its wielder. The martyr effigy is set on the pedestal, the martyr that tries to overcome its idol. The mask and the jacket seem to fit you just perfectly. The mask itself has melted on the patient's face and formed a light layer of exoskeleton, like crust that continues from the mask to the neck. The masked army officer gives you a flirtatious smile and seductively waves you to follow her. The masked person is serenading to the moon. The masked person seems to be in a trance of some kind, just repeating the same words over and over again. The mastermind is down. The mastermind is mumbling something, but you cannot make sense of it. The mattress seems to have been in heavy use in the past. Now it is laid to a white rest similar to the entire building. The meat grinder fell apart in the fight. You pick up the scrap pieces. You get saw blade and a broken bench grinder. The mechanical dance seems shaken by your words. The mechanical monstrosity is down. The menu of the restaurant Billy Vaux is laid on the wall. The merchant, a little bird, told me that these dungeons just swallowed a new set of poor bastards. The merchant, farewell. The merchant, hello there, dweller. What shall it be this time? The merchant, hello there, dweller. The merchant. Well, my time here is done. The merchant, I just saw a business opportunity. That is all. The merchant, so what shall it be? The merchant, your eyes. They are starting to have that absent gaze in them already. The metal box has some fire-extinguishing equipment in it. The metal crate is gathering rust. The metal crate is sealed shut. The Midnight Gazette, the 31st. The metal crate is gathering rust. The metal crate is sealed shut. The Midnight Gazette, the 31st of January. 1936 appointment of Kaiser as Bremen Chancellor has been made official today. The Midnight Gazette, the 17th of September 1942, the formation of the Marching Men of the Night's Day marked the day Europa officially jumped the shark. The Mirador shows only a muddy and distorted reflection of yourself. The miscreant that crawled from the summoning circle revealed its secrets. The mist is preventing you from leaving this place. The mob mentality takes over the town at regular intervals, and the gallows become familiar to every nonconformist. The mob seems to be unwilling to negotiate. The mockery that is the new gods, the puppets yearning to become the puppeteers, should never be mistaken with the gods that dwell beyond our understanding. The modern science and medicine is still limited in this subject. There is a debate if science will ever be capable of calculating the necessary amounts of information. The moment you got to a punching distance, Ricardo had a split-second realization of what was happening before you knocked him off his feet. The moment you stepped inside the dungeon walls, you felt immense otherworldly pressure. You understood that the place would drain any normal person to the brink of madness and starvation in a matter of mere hours. You had to be efficient about this. The momentum of the creature tackled you on the ground, where the ghouls started ripping out your intestines. The monster is clearly getting furious and reckless with his attacks. The monstrosity is down. The moon god grew disinterested in you and slowly drifted away. The moon had paid you a visit and gazed at you for a brief second. To ask for answers, you'd need pay the moon god a visit too. The moon is awfully high tonight. I hear noises echo from the heart of the city. The mob gathered around that hollow tower. The moon is of no value to me. It is but a mark of a trigger. The time has come, and so has he. The moon. It must be the moon god. You ponder. You've read some vague tales about it during your time at the Aemon libraries. The moonless beast is growling at you from a short distance. The moon scorch drops his guard and lunges at you with even more vigor. The more common story speaks of the moon scorch more vigor. The more common story speaks of a human born from a virgin mother, a mere mortal that had humble origins, but one that quickly rose to prominence because of his teachings. The more you entertain the idea, the more certain you become of this haunting realization. The more you look at Caleb, the more annoyed he starts to look. The most bizarre feature is the human torso stemming from the back of the creature. The anatomy of the torso does look like human apart from the prolonged neck and head. The most important thing learned is that you trade your life, yourself in the practice of medicine. That is the price to save lives of the others. The most striking feature, however, in this abomination was its head. The thing had a head of a crow, and it was not just a mask. The feathers seemed to be growing down its neck as well. The most striking feature, however, in this abomination was its head. The thing had a head of a crow, and it was not just a mask. The feathers were growing down its neck too. The movements of the monstrosity are slowing down. It seems to doubt its conviction in killing you. The mug has a dried tea bag in it. The murky water is standing still. It smells really bad. The muscle tissue underneath has started to seemingly harden for whatever reason. The surface feels hard and crispy now. The neck and the head feel too hard for a saw. The neck especially is a medical curiosity. You can't quite explain what has caused the neck to mutate this long. The Necronomicon. The neighbor whips its Necronomicon. The neighbor whips its tongue out. It seems to be smelling the air with it. The new poems of love and torment. Written by Ron Chambara. The noise seemed to come from one of the cells at the end of the platform. Something trapped inside was causing the ruckus. The noise was coming from the exact cell you feared it would. The huge creature in the cell had waken up from its slumber. The northern capital Oldegard was rebuilding their destroyed cities when news about hostilities in the Eastern Europa were broadcasted on the radio. The note has been written with blood. The obvious reason for this is mutation. Although the whole is too symmetric and functional to pass off as a mere mutation, the physique of the beast looks otherwise similar to that of a wolf. The occult grimoires. Magic in Theory and Practice. Written by Samiri Zimri. Translated by Oscar Rente. The old, disproportionate body of the rat hag seems surprisingly durable. She clearly was hunched long before whatever changed her body happened. The only constant in all the papers is the letter R reversed, whatever that means. The only constant in all the papers is the sigil of the long-lost older god, the god of the depths. The only explanation I can come up with is that the country is proud of the old archaic rites that still go down in this city, and they want to show their full support. The only faint light source you had after the torch died out was the small toilet hole you had squeezed through. There was no way to climb back up as the walls were covered in slippery shit that gave you no grip whatsoever. The only logical explanation I can come up with is that the people in this immediate area are under a mass psychosis of some kind. The only soul that returned from the trip was you. The only thing that kept you going was the thought of your new family waiting for you back home. Every night you'd read letters from home and fall asleep to a photograph of Elise. The organization decided to wait and see if their members would surface. But you couldn't just sit back and hope for the best. The organization had been brewing hidden from watching eyes since the dawn of the First Great War. Nen El, who worked across Europa trying to subdue the advancement of both Bremen Empire and Eastern Union. The organization had been brewing hidden from watching eyes since the dawn of the First Great War. NL, who worked across Europa trying to subdue the advancement of both Bremen Empire and Eastern Union. The organs of the creature don't seem to match those of human. The other padlock has a carving of an eagle, and the other has a carving of a two-tailed lion. The other story tells how a mortal, everyday man rose to rival the powers of older gods, while the other story makes Alma just one more creation of the higher powers. The other version of Al-Omur's origins tells how Sylvian, the older god of fertility, ordered a deity known as Vitruvia to create an architectural reprography of a man and a woman that would be to the likeness of Sylvian herself. The other worldly force that was keeping the door shut, it is gone now. The oven is sealed shut because of the white crust that seems to be covering everything in this building. The oven seems to be in pretty decent condition. Looks like someone has been taking good care of it. The owl cultist continues with the exaggerated head tilts. You suspect this person might just be acting the part. The owl cultist is following your every move curiously. Quickly, he tilts his head from left to right. There is an ominous aura of danger in the air. The owl cultist tilts its head from left to right, examining you closely. The painful memories would start from that one night. The paintings seem to depict the past teachers and headmasters that worked in the building. The party tries to escape. However, it was unable to escape. The party tries to escape. However, the Bobby prevents you from escaping. The party tries to escape. However, the creature blocks your path. The party tries to escape. The passages of Mahabharata turn to dust as you return to this world. The path has been blocked here somewhat recently. The path here has caved in, or it has been demolished on purpose. The path is too tight for you. The creature seems to have pushed through some structure beams to get here. The path was a narrow corridor crudely made from misshapen bricks and stones. It looked like the floor had collapsed at certain points, but you were able to hop over the trench with ease. The perfection circle. The gods among men. The men among gods. The person behind the mask seems to be in the middle of a conversation. These people are nodding and moving their dry lips in sync with each other, yet there are no words to be heard. The person doesn't react.